The 1-Year War. It's one of science fiction's most brutal and devastating conflicts. But here's the thing. It wasn't some sudden explosion. It was more like a slow-burning catastrophe, a disaster that was literally prepared for a decade. So in this explainer, we're going to uncover how it all happened.
And this quote right here, this is the absolute key. You have to get this to understand everything else. The whole journey to space, it wasn't born from some noble dream of exploration. No, it was Earth's way of solving a problem it just wanted to forget, by literally launching that problem into orbit.
Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this war, we've got to go back, way back. We have to look at its very foundation, and what you'll see is that this whole thing wasn't built on solid ground. It was built on a totally fractured system, a crisis that basically set Earth against its own people in the colonies from day one.
9 billion. Just let that number sink in. At the start of the universal century, Earth was completely overwhelmed. We're talking a planet that was just bursting at the seams. And this led to a full-blown environmental catastrophe. Pollution, not enough food, you name it.
So what did the Earth Federation do? Well, their big solution was basically a policy of kicking people out. Seriously, this wasn't about expanding our horizons or anything noble like that. It was an exhaust policy. They just wanted to get rid of their surplus people, the poor, the unemployed, and ship them off-world to take the pressure off Earth.
And just like that, you have this deeply divided system. A new social order, really. You've got the Earth sphere, which is the center of everything. All the power, all the consumption, that's where the privileged Earthnoids live. And then you've got the space colonies. They're the factory floor, the engine room, providing all the resources and all the labor. Home to the exploited spacenoids.
Now, this wasn't just about money or politics. Think about the psychology of it. The very act of being sent away, of being expelled, that creates a really deep collective trauma. It's a wound that would end up defining entire generations of people who were born out in space.
Yeah, they even have a word for it. Kimen. It's a Japanese term, and it basically means the abandoned people. And that says it all, doesn't it? It became this shared cultural idea that they weren't pioneers or colonists. They were trash. They were refuse, just discarded by a home planet that had no intention of ever letting them come.
So when you have this widespread feeling of being abandoned, well, that creates the perfect conditions for a new idea to take root. And along comes this philosopher, Zeon Zoom Daikun, and he doesn't preach hate or revenge. Instead, he gives them a new story. He tells them, you weren't abandoned. You're the next step. You're the pioneers of human evolution. He completely reframes their suffering into a noble destiny.
All right, so you've got all this simmering resentment just below the surface. All it needs is a spark. And that spark, well, it's going to come from a place called Side 3, a colony with a really unique situation that was about to set the entire solar system on fire.
See, Side 3 was different from the others. For one, it was the farthest colony group from Earth. So, of course, the Federation pretty much ignored it. Didn't help build it up or anything. This neglect kind of forced them to get good at one thing: heavy industry and getting resources. And because of that, they ended up building their own little economic bubble that was almost totally self-sufficient.
And this is where you find the central conflict, the big contradiction that's going to fuel everything. On one hand, Side 3 is economically independent. They're an equal partner, really, when it comes to industry. But on the other hand, in the eyes of the Federation, they're still just a colony. They're still subjugated.
So what do you think happens when you've got a colony that's an economic powerhouse, but you still treat it like a kid? Yeah, you get a recipe for revolution. It's the classic story, right? Side 3 was forced to pay taxes, forced to supply critical resources, all while having absolutely no real say in the government that was ruling them.
And here's the Federation's fatal mistake. It really boils down to just pure arrogance. That classic blindness of a ruling power that's so sure it's superior. When Side 3 came to them with totally reasonable, moderate requests for more autonomy, the Federation just brushed them off. They called it a minor frontier grievance. Well, that one move completely destroyed any hope for a peaceful solution. It made the moderates look weak and handed all the power over to the radicals, the Zabi family, who were basically saying, see, we told you, the only thing they'll ever understand is force.
So you see, the war didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was more like the final second on a 10-year countdown clock, an unstoppable chain of events where every single chance for peace, every single off-ramp was just closed off, one after another.
And the escalation was just
shockingly fast. I mean, think about it. In just 10 years, you go from a peaceful philosophy to a political coup to building a massive army with a brand new type of weapon, and then boom, a declaration of war. A single decade. That's all it took to go from ideas to all-out conflict.
And a huge reason things escalated so fast was technology. You had this massive imbalance. The new Principality of Xeon was going all in on the mobile suit, this totally revolutionary weapon built for fighting in space. And the Earth Federation? Well, they were just stuck in the past, completely clinging to their old-school battleships and tanks. They had no idea what was coming.
When you step back and look at it, the war became basically inevitable because of a perfect storm, right? First, you have the Federation's political blindness, treating a huge crisis like a small problem. Then, you have Daikun's peaceful ideas getting twisted into a weapon for nationalism. And finally, you throw in a brand new technology that the old guard completely, fatally underestimated.
So this whole chain of events, the deep inequality, the radicalized people, the fatal miscalculation by the rulers, it all adds up to what we called it at the beginning, a prepared catastrophe. All the pieces were already on the board, just waiting for someone to make the final move. And that leaves us with a really haunting question, right? Could this have been stopped? Was there any single point, any decision that could have changed the outcome? Or was the one-year war, right from the very start, always going to happen?